Shalom, everyone. I am the Chief Magician of Mystery Babylon, and welcome to my holy channel. Today I have a very special video. I have, one of my senior chief disciples with me, and we're going to be discussing some very, occult, Kabbalistic topics here. But before we get into the essence of the matter, I just want to, begin with a very small introduction. So, we're going to be talking about, some very powerful Jewish, secret societies in this video, and how Christianity has played a large role in that. And so I want to begin by stating that a while back, I wrote a very powerful paper that I presented on my blog, where for the first time ever I revealed some of the highest secrets that have never been disclosed or revealed, where I revealed and proved how some of the most famous Mekabalim or Kabbalists, and some of them were grandmasters, some of them, have actually been, Christians, secret Christians. And I proved this through their writings, right? So we're talking of very powerful, famous figures like Abraham Abulafia, the Ramchal, Shlomo Malko, among others. So I some of the most famous and powerful Kabbalists that most Jews know of, I proved in this paper from their writings that in fact and indeed they were Christians, and that they believed and worshipped Yeshu as the Mashiach. And this is something that has never been known, never been revealed, disclosed. I was the very first person to do this because of who I am, because I am the Chief Magician in Mystery Babylon. And it's one of the highest, most powerful papers, ever published out there. And I'm going to post a link below in the description. So for any of you who are first time coming here, you can go and you can check out that very powerful paper and read it. And I also want to add that, I listed a number of very famous Kabbalists in the paper, but that's not to include all of them. There are many more other Kabbalists, famous Kabbalists and other Kabbalists out there that have, been Christians and believed and worshipped Yeshu. And I just didn't mention them because the list is much longer than what I presented. But I just wanted to present some of the most famous, Kabbalists in the paper. And this is very powerful stuff. And again, it's just part of all of my proofs and seals that I am who I say that I am, and that indeed I'm the Chief Magician of Mystery Babylon. For those of you that have eyes to see and ears to hear. But anyways, I want to now get into the essence of the matter. So I'm going to introduce my senior chief disciple, Hadar. If you want to kick it off, you can go ahead, Hadar.
Right. So our video today is about a specific crypto-Christian in the Rabbinic elite. His name was Menachem Mendel of Shkalov, the Gaon Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Shkalov, or in short, Gaon Mendel. He was the chief disciple of the Gaon Eliyahu. The Gaon Eliyahu, also known as the Vilna Gaon. There have been speculations already in the time, the period of the life of the Gaon Eliyahu, that he was a secret leader in the frankist movement.
So I just want to stop you. I just want to stop you real quick, Hadar. So when you said the Gaon of Eliyahu, you're talking about the Vilna Gaon, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Gramam or the Gram was a senior chief disciple of the Vilna Gaon for all of you listening, just to clarify. But go ahead, Hadar.
Yeah, and if you read the works by the Gaon Eliyahu, you also see hints to certain not just Christian but particularly Frankist orientation that is exegesi said. But what is important is that the Gaon of Shkalov, Gaon Menachem Mendel of Shkalov, was one among a number of very close disciples of the Gaon Eliyahu, and he was particularly the one that the Gaon Eliyahu favored, and to whom he exposed a lot of the mysteries of the Hebrew Bible. And the Gaon Mendel, later after the Gaon Eliyahu's death, together with the group of other disciples, went to settle in the Holy Land in Jerusalem. Now, if you the book that Rabbi Chaltumai and I both very highly revere is one of the most advanced works deciphering and decrypting the Hebrew Bible, and it was written by the Gaon Mendel of Shkalov. It's called Dualism Manuta, which is in Aramaic the mystery of faith, and it's called the mystery of faith, and it's basically a very, very intense microscopic analysis of the Hebrew Bible and other sources such as the Talmud, the Midrash, and the Zohar. And in that book, Dualism Manuta, you see a very explicitly, at the very least, an ambivalent attitude to Jesus, to the names attributed to him, to Christianity, to the cross, etc., etc., etc. We've already talked about it in previous videos of ours. But the thing is that the Grammar of Shkrov is also a part of a certain Christian milieu within the rabbinic elite. And the proof for that is that, like many other of the greatest sages and the greatest grandmasters for history, his descendants also converted to Christianity. And you will be surprised how many members of the rabbinic aristocracy have throughout the centuries converted to Christianity and assimilated into Western Europe. Now,
yeah, I just want to stop you there, Hadar. So just to rewind a little bit on the Vilna Gaon and his frankist tendencies. So on the record, the very famous philosopher Lazarus ben Dawid is explicitly and officially on record as stating that the Vilna Gaon was a full-blown frankist and was actually on the payroll of Jakob Frank, meaning that Jakob Frank was protecting and sending payments to the Vilna Gaon. This is officially on record, and it's one of our highest proofs that the Vilna Gaon was, in fact, a full-blown frankist. And this is and the biggest hint, of course, are the Frankist-leaning writings of the Gram. And as Hadar said, his magnus opus, Raza de Mehimnuta, is literally one of the highest, most esoteric texts in the Kabbalah. And it's a genius, absolute genius text. I mean, if you read that book, it is a display of the extraordinarily high intellect and genius of the Gram. And it's a book that has to be read many times over to fully penetrate and understand the very sublime, just ridiculously sublime secrets that are revealed and presented in the text. In fact, I have a series of blog posts on my blog diving very deep into some of the portions in the book. So I dive very deeply into some certain selected passages within the book, especially those dealing with Yeshu, and showcasing how the Gram, was definitely a Yeshu follower and believer and worshiper. But yeah, so very powerful stuff. You can continue, Hadar.
Yeah. So this slide concerns the Christian affiliations of the Gramam. You see here two images. One is of Shabtai Benjamin Warhold, who is the great grandson of the Gramam, and Reverend Joseph Wolf, who was a confidant or a companion or contemporary of the Gramam. And those two are the most notable Christian affiliations of the Gramam. Shabtai Warhold was one of the founders, a co-founder in the Hebrew Christian movement back in the early 20th century. That movement later developed into the less cohesive movement of Messianic Judaism. But its origins is in the Hebrew Christian movement that its initiators were all, well, not all of them, but some of them were coming from deep from the rabbinic aristocracy. And Shabtai Warhold was actually the great-grandson of the Gramam. He was the grandson of Rabbi Nate, who was the son of the Gramam, leader of the Perishites in Jerusalem. And he was born in Jerusalem, and upon young adulthood, he converted to Christianity and became a minister, a Presbyterian minister. Reverend Joseph Wolf was a friend or a companion of the Gramam already in his lifetime. Reverend Joseph Wolf was a missionary, an evangelist from acting on a part of the Anglican mission in Jerusalem. He traveled all over the world to convert all kinds of esoteric populations to Christianity. One of these travels was to Jerusalem, where he polemicized with the Ramam and influenced his understanding of Christianity. And what's more interesting about that is that I've read the journals, the memoirs of Reverend Joseph Wolf. He wrote memoirs about his travels to evangelize all kinds of people around the world. And he claims there, he presents himself there as a direct descendant of Rabbi Yonatan Eibschitz, which makes him also, by extension, a direct descendant of the Magal Amukot, who is the patriarch of esoteric Hebrew Christianity in Europe. And Reverend Joseph Wolf was from the Wolf family, that is the Wolf family, which is a ramification of the Shapiro family of the Magal Amukot.
Yeah, so I just want to stop there. So rewinding back a little bit, right? You mentioned earlier, how so many descendants of these, Jewish Grandmaster Kabbalists who are crypto-Christians, so many of their descendants end up converting to Christianity. And I think that's one of the biggest hints, if not probably one of the biggest proofs. Another example, powerful example, is Rav Nachman, right? In my paper, I provide proofs that Rav Nachman was a frankist grandmaster of the highest order. And you have to understand that if you're a frankist, by definition, that means you're a Christian, because frankism is quintessentially just Gnostic Christianity. That's all it is. And so what we see with Rav Nachman is that so many of his descendants immediately after his death ended up converting to Christianity. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why did so many of the descendants of Rav Nachman convert to Christianity? Why do we see that with these other people that the Hadar is also talking about, right? Even more powerful is the fact what Hadar just said. He just basically said one of the most powerful revelations is that the Baal Magal Amukot was a crypto-Christian, and a patriarch of these crypto-Christian Jewish secret societies, and I mean that's a powerful secret that's only known among the inner sanctum of the whole Illuminati that no one really else knows out there, unless of course you belong to some very high level secret societies, that surround those secret societies. But very powerful stuff. But continue, Hadar. Speak more on the Magal Amukot. Mention Moravia, maybe Swedenborg, and some of that stuff. It's very interesting.
Yeah, sure. So Magal Amukot, to those who do not know, he was one of the most revered rabbinic exegetes. He's characterized. He is particularly he is named after his magnum opus. He was alive in the 16th century, I think, the late 16th century, the early 17th century. That was the period where the Magal Amukot was alive, was active. He's named after his magnum opus. His real name is Rabbi Nathan Shapiro. He's named the Magal Amukot after his magnum opus, the Magal Amukot, which is the commentary on. There are two Magal Amukots. There's one that is commentary on the verse in Deuteronomy, and there's the Magal Amukot that is commentary on the Pentateuch.
Yeah, I just want to stop you there. So, his book, Magal Amukot, his magnus opus, is, again, that's another extremely very lofty, esoteric, Kabbalistic text. And in fact, there are some selected passages in his book that, are, you could sort of say, on the frankist level, kind of showcasing that, he was operating at the frankist level to, a certain extent, if not completely, for that matter. But yeah, very, very powerful stuff. But continue, Hadar.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, the thing is that according to, we're getting into more historical things. According to certain, the thing is that there was a Christian Hebraist in the 20th century named Gustav Dalman. He's a very famous Christian Hebraist, and he found in the archives of the Moravian Brotherhood, the Moravian Brethren, he found a correspondence between a Moravian pastor and a secret sect of Jewish Christian syncretists, of Jewish crypto-Christians, and they claim that their patriarch is the Magal Amukot. And if you read the Magal Amukot, you see also a lot of, if you read it esoterically, you'll see a lot of themes that establish what we contemporarily know as Frankist doctrine. Now, we're gonna get a little bit to some of the mysteries that are exposed by both the Magal, Amukot, and the Grammar of Shkalov. One of the biggest emphasis of the thing is that what characterizes Jewish exegetes since antiquity is their Israelological orientation. That is, they read every part of the Bible from through the prism of the covenant of Israel with the God of Israel. Yeah. So usually Jews have a greater orientation toward the story of Jacob and Esau, while the Christian read the Old Testament Christologically. The Jews could read it Israelologically, as in Jacob and his promise and his covenant with God are implicated within every part of the Old Testament. Now, what we can call an etymological reading that is characteristic of those esoteric Kabbalists, crypto-Christian Kabbalists, they invert the Israelological reading and read the Old Testament through an etymological reading, that is finding the occult higher supernal meaning implicated within the symbol and the name and the value of Esau. Yeah. So one of the orientations one of the aspects and the ideas that are brought forth by both the Magal and Amukot, but also by the Grammar of Shkalov later on, is the emphasis on certain. Of course, the entire life of Jacob is emphasized, but particularly there's one aspect that is getting a lot of attention by both the Magal Amukot and the Grammar of Shkalov. It is the theme of the wrestling of Jacob with the angel. According to a rabbinic law, or the angel that Jacob was wrestling with was the guardian angel of Esau. On a certain level, it was Esau himself, and one of the most recurrent values, numerical values in the Rambam's geometrical insight is the number 512. When the angel wrestled Jacob, he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, and the thigh went out of joint. Yeah, Jacob was wounded; he became crippled. Yeah, but where he was wounded is the hollow of Jacob's thigh. In Hebrew, it's Kaf Yarech Yaakov. That term implicates an incredible richness of meaning, but in the context of the crypto-Christian rabbinic reading, that the Kaf Yarech Yaakov is understood as the place where on the most occult esoteric level, it's the place of the crucifixion. And I can explain it, but it will take a lot of time. My point is that largely one of the central themes in the Agamam's cosmology is that the place where the Christians go to, yeah, the Jesus in John, Gospel of John, chapter 14. Yeah, he says there, I go to prepare a place for you. Yeah, so that place, according to the Quran, is the hollow of Jacob's thigh, which is marked by the cross, and it is the place of Esau on a certain level, because the Kaf Yarech Yaakov in Gematria 512 equals, includingly, Ayin Shin Vav, the outspelling of the three letters in Esau's name, Ayin Shin and Vav. The filling of the outspelling of those letters gives you the number 512, which equals Kaf Yarech Yaakov, the whole of Jacob's thigh. Now, another value that is equal to 512 is the expanded or unfolded form of Makom, that is some kind of a factorial formulation of the word Makom, which means place. Yeah. So there is as you can see in the slide, you see that the first letter, the first two letters, the first three letters, and the four letters in the word's entirety together all constitute the number 512. And this creates an equation between the Kaf Yarech Yaakov, the Esav, the whole of Jacob's thigh, Esav, Esau, and the Makom, which is the place. All of those indicate that a conversion to Christianity means a certain migration toward a specific place, a specified place that it will it's a very complicated issue, and it takes us off topic. But the point is that the number 512 has a positive meaning, like many other signs associated with Jesus in Christianity. 512 is a numerical value that the Quran also reveres. Consider this a holy number. It equals, for example, the combination of Metat and Sandal, the two angels, the two macrocosmic angels, which correspond to the two pillars of truthfulness. They together create 512, and there are many other.
So you're saying you're saying the gematria of Sandalphon and Metatron is 512?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Yeah, so this revelation here that the Quran is revealing, again, quintessentially is a frankist, a very sublime frankist revelation. In fact, Hadar actually said something as he was speaking. He made a statement that revealed one of the highest, most esoteric, most sublime keys, to this passage in the Torah regarding the hollow of the thigh of Yaakov. I'm not going to mention what that statement is because that secret, that key that he gave, all of the secrets, regarding that key are revealed in my very closed, sealed book, except for Atziluth. So this is very esoteric wisdom that cannot be openly revealed. So if you have a high IQ and SQ, maybe you can figure out what that key is, but I'm not going to make any further mention of it. But this is of course, all very, very powerful. But Hadar, do you want to speak more on what was going on in Moravia and Swedenborg, William Blake, these secret societies in operation? You want to speak more to that potentially?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I've noticed is that the focalities of the Sabbatean movement in the 17th and 18th centuries, those focalities were the same focalities of the Reformation in Europe. Those are Bohemia and Moravia, and Amsterdam and London. Those were centers of Reformation that could indicate that there was some kind of a correspondence or a relation of heterodox Judaism to the opening of Jewish-Christian dialogue following the Reformation. What you see is that in Moravia, for example, Joseph Wolf was born in Zale, which was it was a stronghold of the German Pietists. You see a lot of contacts between the Spiro family and Reformation figures. You can, for example, Immanuel Swedenborg, that you mentioned, he was a friend of Rabbi Natan Abshitz, who was a prodigy of the Spiro family. And there has been a lot of Jewish-Christian dialogue on scriptures that led eventually culminated in the mass conversion of Jews to Christianity under Jacob Frank, but also an assimilation and integration of the Czech Sabbatians into the Western European establishment. And in Moravia, Jonathan Abshitz was born in Moravia. He was born in a town named Ivanchich. He was named Abshitz after Ivanchich. It's an abbreviation. And he was born in Moravia, and he was in contact with all the Moravian Reformation figures. And we're talking about very, very close circles that were connected with each other, and they're also connected in one way or another to the Lithuanian Parashites, and this culminated includingly in the collaboration of Joseph Wolf with Menachem Mendel Shkrov in establishing the Jewish community in Jerusalem. And the Magal Amukot is the forefather of all of that. Magal Amukot himself was a descendant of Rashi, yeah, and is considered to be one of the holiest saints, one of the greatest pietists and the gracious people in early modern, in this history since early modern times. And it's a very elaborate matter, but the Shabbatians are an expression of the tensions, of the Christian tensions that accumulated themselves within the rabbinic elite. And we're talking about when we're talking about Sabbatianism, it's an expression or a discharge of that of the tension that has been culminating since ancient antiquity. That the crypto-Christian sentiment had to make its way out into mass movements, and that was what frankism and Shabbatianism were. Those were expressions of the mystical Christian orientation that has been associated, growingly associated with rabbinic elite teachings. The Gemara Shkov connects to that in that manner.
Yeah, that's what you said there early on is just beyond ridiculously powerful, and what a lot of connections that a lot of scholars and people haven't really made yet, unfortunately, because these we're talking about extremely secret societies here that no one really knows about, and so what happened was that in the Middle Ages, a lot of the ruling powers had a lot of respect for the elite Jewish grandmasters and magicians, because they respected and they knew that they're the chosen seed, and so that they're the wisest, and so some of the Western European Christian secret societies, like the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, right? They understood this, and that's why they had secret meetings with the Jewish secret grandmasters, some of them who were operating in Moravia and around that region. And so you had people like famous people like Swedenborg, William Blake, that were initiated by Jewish grandmasters, because the elite among the Western European Christian secret societies, they recognized and respected, right, the Jewish grandmasters, and they submitted themselves under their feet to be initiated. And so this is how other secret societies like the Golden Dawn were born. And so what I'm revealing and talking about here is very, very secret matters that are practically unknown to all of the profane goyim occultists, because again, they're profane and they're uninitiated. And so at the highest level, it's very well known and understood that the Jews are at the very top. When it comes to the secret societies, the Jews are at the very top, and that they run and control everything. Again, I would say that this is one of the highest secrets that's not really known. Maybe some people, to them, they do. I guess you could say they know it, right? You have a lot of goyim that believe that Jews run the world. They believe in that conspiracy, and that conspiracy is true. We actually do run the world, and I'm a Jew, and I'm saying this because I can say this because I know this. But yeah,
Also, mention about Swedenborg. What of the things that are peculiar to Swedenborg in the domain of Christian exegesis is that Swedenborg considered the Christian church to be the Church of Edom. He had an etymological orientation, thanks to his rabbinic initiation. He was familiar with if you read his Arcanum Celestium, the commentary on the Old Testament, you see that he considered Jacob and Esau to be not to be divided between one exclusive evil and one exclusive good, but they are more like complementing modalities of the divine nature, when each has a messianic function of its own. According to Swedenborg, Jacob and Esau are the truth and just truthfulness and goodness of the divine nature. That means that Esau is not an antagonistic or what the Jews would consider satanic aspect of the world, but rather Esau is the complementing modality on certain level. If you want to go to the frankist level, through Esau is Jacob fulfilled and actualized. In Swedenborg, it is understood that the relation that Esau represents grace and goodness, while Jacob represents wisdom and truth. And this affirmative reading of Parshat Toldot, of the story of Jacob and Esau, it most likely springs from Swedenborg's rabbinic initiation, because most Christian exegetes, since the church fathers considered the church to be Israel, the Christian church to be Israel, Swedenborg considered it to be Edom, and he talked about a unification or a marriage in which the Church of Israel and the Church of Edom, that is the synagogue and the church, the ecclesia, will be wed together and live in peace together. And this leads us to a remark by Shabtai Rohold, the great-grandson of the Gaon Magal, who is the co-founder of the Hebrew Christian movement in the British Commonwealth. And here he says, one of the in the ending of his book on the Jew and the war, which is mostly discusses historical or political subjects. In the end, he goes to refer to the biblical context of Zionism, and he says there that it's only after Jacob recognizes the person with capital P, the person with whom he was wrestling, then peace came, and we all know that peace, shalom, equals Esau in Gematria, right? Esau equals shalom, Esau equals peace, and the reconciliation that he discusses here, you see here that he says that Jacob, the sun came out, rose on Jacob, right, in Genesis 32, after Jacob wrestled with the angel, he becomes limp, and the sun rose upon him. It is only then that the sun rose upon him. That is, it is after the reconciliation with Esau that, and the viewing, the experience of the face of God, that is why Jacob called the place Penuel, the face of God. After he awakes to the face of God, that in Genesis 33 we see that the face of God is the face of Esau, right? It says to Esau, "I saw your face as though I've seen the face of God." Yeah, right. It is only after viewing the face of God, it is only after encountering Esau and returning to him what was taken in the birth of Jacob and Esau, which is the heel of the thigh. Yeah, he gives his leg back to Esau. Yeah, according to the Magal Amukot, he gives Esau the letter Vav. Then the letter Vav, that is the covenant of Esau, and the letter Yod is the covenant of Jacob. Yeah, and he gives him the letter Vav that he took from him when they were born, when he held Esau's heel. Yeah, so the thigh that is wounded is the heel that was held by Jacob, and Jacob hands to Esau back his heel, his thigh, his Vav, and then in that manner the covenant, the fraternity of Jacob and Esau is reestablished, and it was only after then that he goes to Esau in Genesis 33.
Yeah, very powerful stuff. I want to comment on this, but before I do, I want to go a little bit back to what we were talking about before, on, Swedenborg and others like William Blake. So the thing is that, there's a lot of ignorance, among scholarship, on what was going on at the highest levels, right? Because, for example, if you read the writings of William Blake, in his writings, he reveals frankist arcana of the highest order. And for the very few of you who have purchased my very esoteric books, you know that I've cited one such extraordinarily sublime esoteric frankist teaching from William Blake's writings. And they're fully explained in my esoteric books, these frankist arcana of the highest order. But you see that they begin to reveal and touch upon very extremely sublime and very esoteric frankist arcana in their writings. And the scholars, because they're uninitiated, so stupid and so ignorant, are completely unaware of this. The whole world is unaware of this, right? I remember when I was in high school, in my English classes, in my English literature classes, right, we would be forced to read, the writings of William Blake, and the stupidity and the ignorance was just appalling, beyond appalling. So here we are, and you see this all around our country in the U.S. In high school and college, people are studying the writings of William Blake and things of that sort, and they have no clue, no idea what they're reading, no understanding whatsoever, because they don't know how deep the well goes on these matters. They have the ignorance and the stupidity. All I can say is beyond appalling. You have to be, you know, at the level of me and Hadar. You have to be a freaking a grandmaster Kabbalist, uh, you know, running in these very esoteric, secret societies in order to have any knowledge of this. And so there's no way that the scholars and anyone else is going to have knowledge of this, quite honestly, right? That's why we're bringing forth all of these revelations for the first time here in this video. More proof, more display of my regalia and seals that I am who I am, that I say that I am, I am the chief magician of Mystery Babylon. Now, going back to what Hadar was just speaking on, I will say this. I will say that if you want to know more about this hidden and occult dichotomy between Jacob and Esau, I divert you to my recently published Frankist Manifesto, revised edition that I recently released a while back. There's a lot of gates there, and where I dive extraordinarily deep, into these the highest secret mysteries, dealing with the dichotomy between Jacob and Esau, because that's what Frankism, is really all about. But yeah, I think I forgot what else I was gonna say. I was gonna say some other stuff on what Hadar just said. But dang, I think I forgot. What a shame. Uh, is there anything else you want to say, Hadar? Will I try to remember what I was going to say?
I can say that in the book that I'm currently working on, I'm also deal. I'm working on two books. One of them is more complicated. The other is simpler. In the simple book that I'm working on, I discuss also William Blake's attitude to the Bible and the themes that he was encrypting in his works. I give an example that I deal with in my book, and it is that William Blake, according to William Blake, there are two entities, two divinities that represent the same principles that Jacob and Esau represent. Those are Urizen and Los. Yeah, and Urizen is the parallel in William Blake's cosmology to Jacob, and Los is the parallel of Esau. And how I do know that? Because the Urizen and Los correspond to the south and the north on a sacred topographical level. And the north is the abode of Esau. The initiated Kabbalists know that the north is the abode of Esau. And the north is, those are esoteric stuff, so I won't reveal too much about that. But the point is that the north is the place, right? For example, we know that normally people say from the north an evil shall break forth. But if you look, for example, in the book of Job, it says a fair weather comes from the north. Yeah. And this fair weather in Hebrew is zahav, which means gold, literally. And according to the Kabbalistic sages, the north is an archetype that is multifaceted and includes a bad side and a good side. The issue is that the good side is perhaps the highest good possibly attainable. And the north is the place from which the weather comes, the dew comes, the abundance comes, the grace comes, all come from the north. And the north is the place of Esau for many reasons, including its Sephor was one of the offsprings, the generations of Esau, whose name is etymologically related to Saphon, to north. There's a gematria, there's a very powerful gematria between Saphon to a certain dim that the Gemara reveals. But I'll keep it, I will reveal it in the book when I published it, when I will publish it. The point is that there's a lot, on the explicit level, the north is supposedly the place of evil. On the implicit level, there is much more complexity to the mystery of the north. And William Blake does posit the Messiah figure, the Christ figure that is lost in the north for for reasons that only frankist grandmasters will understand, and that is that the north, for many reasons that I will not elaborate on, the north is the abode of abundance, grace, and truth.
So that's very powerful. In fact, Baruch Hashem, I just remembered what I was going to say in regards to what you said earlier. So speaking on, the Kabbalistic understanding that the angel that Yaakov wrestled with is Esau, right? So we have to understand that, over time, the vast majority, if not all, Jews have been very stupid and ignorant in not understanding the full implications and ramifications of this very secret teaching in the Zohar, or really in our ancient Midrashim. But we have to understand, because the Jews, for the longest, their exegesis and understanding, is based on understanding every figure in the Torah as a singularity. Okay. And frankism, because it's very advanced, understands the full truth that every figure in the Torah is not singular, but dualistic. Everything is dualistic. So that's one of the highest and greatest teachings of Jakob Frank, is understanding the dualism at play, right? So in the great stupidity and ignorance of the Jews, they have a singular understanding of Esau, that Esau is evil, right? That's all they know. That's all they understand. Esau, he's evil. He represents the Sitra Achra. He's just an evil person, right? At the frankist level, when we have the full truth, we understand the dualistic understanding, and we understand that every character, every archetype is dualistic, meaning that, yes, on one level, we understand that Esau is evil, but we also understand that there is a holy aspect to Esau. So there's two levels to Esau. Yes, there is an evil level, but there's also a powerful, esoteric, holy level to Esau. In other words, there's there is an existence of a holy Esau, in contradistinction to the evil Esau. And this is hinted at in the Torah, because after Yaakov wrestles with the angel of Esau, what does he say? He says, I just saw the face of God. He calls the angel Peniel, which is, I just saw the face of God, right? And that's the God that who's that God? That's the God that the Jews are supposed to be worshiping. And who is that? That's Esau, meaning that we're supposed to be worshiping Esau. We worship Esau quintessentially. At the highest, most secret level, we worship Esau. And who is Esau? Well, Esau, the name Esau is just a permutation of Yeshu, because that's who he really is. That's who the angel is, Yeshu. Yeshu is the holy Esau, quintessentially, right? That's the highest Frankist. That's the highest, greatest Frankist arcanum that no one really knows. Okay, the only the crypto Christian Jewish Frankish grandmasters, they're the only ones that know this arcanum. Okay, and so that's the hint: is face of God, right? In the Kabbalah, the term face always denotes holiness, always. So when you say the face of God, you are talking about a very powerful, holy entity. This is not a klephthic entity. If he had said I saw the back of God, if he said, if Esau is so evil, if he's so evil, then he should have said, I saw the back of God, not the face of God. Because in the Kabbalah, the back is associated with the Sitra Achra and the Klipoth. That's not what's being said here, right? So that's one of the biggest hints, right? If you have a high IQ and high SQ, you're reading this, you're like, okay, you got to put one and one together, okay? Okay, so the Kabbalah, the ancient sages teach that this angel was Esau. They also teach that Esau is evil. Then why the hell is the Torah saying that this is the face of God? The implications and the ramifications of this are beyond staggering. Okay, so staggering that practically every Jew throughout time has been too stupid and too ignorant to fully see and understand what I've just revealed here. So yeah, is there anything else you want to say, Hadar, to conclude or add?
I will say that the dual constitution of each sign in the Bible is ingrained into the constitution of nature, because for example, in the human body, every man is divided in two. He has right leg and left leg. He has the right arm and left arm. Yeah, every man has two sides to his body. That each side represents the left side represents the evil side of the man. The right side represents the good side of the man. In the same manner, I reveal a very, very esoteric mystery concerning that in the book that I'm working on. I just know that Jacob himself and Esau himself have a good side and evil side. In Esau, the head is good and the legs are evil. In Jacob, the right side is good and the left side is evil. So both of them are constituted according to the duality of good and evil, but in different formulations. And on the most esoteric level that the Rambam reveals is that the good side in Jacob is Esau. There's a gematria that found that. I don't know if you want me to reveal it, but it concerns the word tam, plain, right? The Jacob was a plain man.
Oh yeah, you can reveal that's a ridiculous. That gematria that you revealed to me, Hadar, was just a ridiculous, super sublime, crazy gematria. But you can go ahead and reveal it.
Okay, so tam, it's written Jacob was a plain man, Ishtam. Tam, which means plain or truthful or innocent, is two letters, taf and mem. Together, the letters of that name, that word, is in gematria 440. That value 440 is Esav Avi Edom, Esau, the father of the Edomites, which is mentioned in Genesis 36. And there's an equation between the plain side of Jacob, that is the good side of Jacob, and Esau.
So let's just settle. So Tam in Hebrew is equal to what again in Hebrew? It was Esau Ab Edom. You said
Esav Avi Edom. Esau, the father of the Edomites.
So in Hebrew it would be Esau Ab Edom, correct?
Avi Edom, with Yud after the bit.
Okay, Esau Abi Edom. Yeah, that's and that everyone, that is just, I mean, the mysteries behind that gematria are ridiculously sublime, entirely in the frankist domain. And unfortunately, we don't have time and space to fully unlock and get into that. But all I can say is that those mysteries are beyond sublime, very much beyond sublime, and that's all I can say. Yes. But we will conclude this video with that ridiculous, powerful revelation, and hopefully, all of you listening have learned a lot from all of this. Amen. Okay, shalom and salah, everybody. Bye.